Happy Friday folks, and welcome to another weekly dose of tech news. From AMD to Anthropic, it's been another busy week in tech, so let's get straight into it. The first devices running the new Qualcomm Snapdragon X2 Elite Extreme chips were launched this week. That's quite a mouthful. With reviews of the Asus ZenBook A16 surfacing on Tuesday. The second generation chips show a healthy performance increase, with the new A16 sporting one of the flagship SKUs. The previous top-spec chip clocked in at 12 cores of 3.7 GHz base, while the new laptops sport the 18-core 4.4 GHz base beast. The new devices are supposedly more heavily geared towards gamers, and the boosted GPU clock speed definitely seems to suggest that Qualcomm has put some serious effort in here. While the first-gen chips really marked a first serious entry into Windows on ARM laptops to compete with the Apple's M-series lineup, the new X2 lineup seems to take gamers a little more seriously. Other outlets report that the A16 is able to reach average frame rates of 43 FPS in Cyberpunk 2077, using the high preset at 1080p with FSR turned off, which is significantly better than the 18.8 FPS on the older Snapdragon X Elite laptops. While 43 is playable, turning the graphics down a little or turning FSR on may let you hit a solid 60 FPS without too much effort, which is pretty cool for only a second generation of these chips. Memory also gains a boost this generation. While still being LPDDR5X, it sees a roughly 10% boost in megatransfers per second, up to 9523, but also a move from 128-bit to 192-bit memory bus, increasing overall memory bandwidth by roughly 70%. On the whole, these chips look like a really strong generational improvement, even if they're not quite ready to compete with dedicated gaming laptops. There are still more devices to come, but we'll have to wait and see if we ever see a Snapdragon-based model with a discrete GPU focused at gamers. Amazon announced the end of support of a number of Kindle products this week, turning several models into a brick after the end of life date. Starting on May 20th this year, devices released before 2013 will no longer be supported, with back-end services being shut down. This isn't a huge shock, companies end support, and 14 plus years of support is admirable for a big tech company. Devices will no longer be able to purchase or download new books, but the real kicker here is the inability to factory reset the devices without bricking them. While existing devices will remain functional, at least to read books, any attempt to reset the devices will end with them being unable to activate post-setup, making them functionally useless. While I think most folks are fine with Amazon shutting down their services, leaving no way for the devices to be activated and used following the end of support leaves a sour taste in the mouth, literally forcing these devices to become e-waste. Amazon has offered 20% off a new device and an ebook credit, but most are still bothered that these devices will become non-functional come June. While these services are ending, there do seem to be options to flash custom apps and firmware onto the devices if you feel like tinkering, so it might not be time for the bin just yet. John Deere settled a class action lawsuit this week, agreeing to pay out $99 million to affected farmers who are forced to use authorized dealers to repair their equipment. The farming equipment giant is infamous for locking down its equipment, preventing farmers from repairing their own machinery, accessing parts, or doing any kind of diagnostic. The company has historically claimed that safety and security were its priorities, while preventing a farmer from swapping parts on a machine they bought outright. This has led many farmers to jailbreak their own equipment, using unscrupulous services to get full access to their own hardware. Unfortunately, John Deere is the main player in this space, so farmers are forced to use their equipment regardless. As of this settlement, however, the company has not only agreed to repay some of the class's overpayments, but they've also committed to provide the digital tools required for the maintenance, diagnosis, and repair for 10 years after purchase. A huge win for the right to repair movement. We'll see if they stick to this agreement for the long term, but for now, this is a huge win for farmers. A new leak has given us a first look at the long-rumoured iPhone Fold. In a post on X on Thursday, A leaker has shared videos of a physical mock-up of the device's rumoured dimensions, showing how the device compares to an existing candy bar design. It isn't known where the specs for these dimensions came from, but if this is accurate, it shows a shorter, wider display on the front, but roughly the same thickness as the iPhone 18 Pro Max displayed next to it. Rumours have been circulating for a while that Apple plans to break into the foldables market, and it appears that this may be that device. Apple is known to be late to the party on many new technologies, but it often strives to produce a highly polished version when it does finally appear. In this case, industry sources have been quoted as saying Apple is aiming to avoid the crease at all costs, holding off releasing the device until it's highly durable. Rumours suggest we'll be seeing the device this September alongside the iPhone 18 lineup, so we might see some hint of foldable support being added to iOS at Apple's upcoming WWDC conference in June. From the same leaker who brought us the RTX 6090 leaks a couple of weeks ago, we got a new set of leaks surrounding AMD's Zen 6 CPUs this week. Team Red have been pretty tight-lipped about their upcoming lineup of chips, but this week's leak seems to confirm several other rumours that AMD is moving from 8-core to 12-core CCDs. This means we're likely to see a new top-end 24-core 48-thread chip replacing the previous 16-core 32-thread part we have today. The benefit isn't just at the top end. Gamers who prefer a more reasonable mid-range core count will be able to access more cores without the concern of cross-CCD latency. The new CCDs will maintain the same 4MB per core L3 cache, increasing the maximum to 48MB per CCD, with the X3D parts having an additional 96MB of V-cache. The leak also suggests a boost to the supported memory speed up to 8,000 megatransfers per second, if you can wrench any of it away from Sam Altman and his merry band of data center engineers. IPC gains are suspected to be in the 10% range, and the base clock is reported to be around 6 GHz. Previous rumours suggested AMD was going to push towards a 7 GHz base, but it seems that this has been reined back in the last few months. It is possible that this chip will have a healthy overclocking headroom and that AMD just wanted to hit an efficiency target, but we won't know until these chips are in reviewers' hands. Get subscribed and leave a comment if you want to see me check those out when they're released next year. Anthropic launched its latest model in preview this week, Claude Mythos. Mythos is aimed at cybersecurity research, with Anthropic claiming that they've already discovered a number of zero-day vulnerabilities in popular libraries, such as FFmpeg. The company claims the model is too powerful to release to the public, and has instead detailed Project Glasswing, aiming to give tech giants preview access to the model for finding and fixing security vulnerabilities. If the tool really is as powerful as Anthropic claims, it's easy to see why they wouldn't want to have everyday users using it, with it facilitating easy access to exploits for the determined script kiddie. The 16-year-old bug in FFmpeg's H.264 decoder that they called out in their press release is certainly an extremely good example of the model working to improve cybersecurity for good, but it remains to be seen how many real bugs it will find for tech giants, and whether this will fall into nation-state hands anyway. Despite the recent rebuff of the US government by Anthropic, who knows if nation-states will find alternative ways to access this model and use it in the development of sophisticated malware. Samsung announced back in March that they were launching support for AirDrop with its line of Galaxy S26 devices, and this week, the South Korean tech giant announced that support is being brought to the S24 and S25 phones. AirDrop has historically been an Apple exclusive offering, allowing iPhones, iPads and Macs to share content seamlessly. It's honestly an excellent feature, and one of the things that makes the Apple ecosystem feel so seamless and smooth. It's surprising, then, that Apple has both allowed this to be released and is seemingly making no efforts to prevent it. Apple has been under much scrutiny from regulators in recent years about its anti-competitive practices, and has been forced to open up its ecosystem to third parties, for example with the recent ruling around its wearables ecosystem. Apple could likely lock down compatibility with these Samsung devices via a software update, but it seems that the US giant may be hesitant to poke the bear on this one, preferring to stay quiet and just let it happen. Apple has recently collaborated with Google to improve the switch to Android and switch to iOS tools, and Google's Pixel QuickShare also added support for AirDrop several months ago. Are we starting to see a move to a more open Apple ecosystem, or are we just waiting for news that Apple is going to close another door? And last, but certainly not least, RAM prices appear to be starting to fall, according to a recent report from TrendForce. While AI and data center demand has been pushing DRAM prices up for some time, recent news on the improved memory consumption for querying models and the softened demand for AI have likely contributed to lower than expected demand for the chips. According to TrendForce, prices have sharply corrected over the last couple of months, though it's not yet certain if this trend will continue. Prices seem to have dropped in the consumer space, but according to the report, demand remains high for server memory, and contract pricing remains stable. For you and me, that seems like a good sign, but it's not quite the crazy market-wide sell-off that would allow us to get our hands on dirt cheap memory. For now, however, prices are falling, and that's a great thing. Fingers crossed that this trend continues and we see prices come back to early 2025 levels. That's all from me for this week. Are you tempted by an ARM CPU laptop? Let me know in the comments. Hit like, get subscribed, and we'll see you next Friday for your weekly dose of tech news. Have a great day.